Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mary Katie Moses, and I'm going to be presenting today on the community eligibility provision, a brief overview of EScholar and direct match prep for the population data. We'll start with a CEP overview. So, what is CEP? The Community Eligibility Provision is a meal service option for schools and school districts in low-income areas. It is a program established by the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act. CEP allows the nation's highest poverty schools and districts to serve breakfast and lunch at no cost to all enrolled students without the burden of collecting household applications. This alternative saves local education agencies time and money by streamlining paperwork and administrative requirements and facilitates low-income children's access to nutritious school meals. While the program operates on a 4-year cycle, schools may opt in or opt out each year. Criteria to participate. Prior to being approved to participate in CEP, SFAs must agree to the following: serve all children free breakfast and lunches. Second, cover costs above reimbursement amounts with non-federal funds. Third, not collect or process meal applications. Fourth, SFAs, either by individual sites or clusters of sites, must have an enrollment with at least 25% of the students considered identified students to participate in CEP. Previously, it was 40%. You must refresh the population data as of April 1st of the school year prior to participation, e.g. April 1st, 2026 for school year 25-26. Fifth, resident child care institutions, RCCIs, are not eligible. CEP funding sources. The primary purpose of the nonprofit school food service account is to operate or improve a school meals program that serves nutritious meals meeting the meal pattern requirements. Therefore, funds in the nonprofit school food service account may be used to support CEP in accordance with 7 CFR 210.14a. This includes federal reimbursement and other assistance provided under the NSLA and the Child Nutrition Act of 1966, including unused reimbursement from the Summer Food Service Program and the Child Adult Care Food Program. This also includes other funds in the nonprofit school food service account, such as non-program revenue in excess of revenue required to meet requirements at 7 CFR 210.14F. The expenditure of additional non-federal funds is not required if all CEP operating costs can be covered from allowable funding sources. If there is a difference between the cost of serving lunches and breakfast at no cost to all participating children and funding available to support CEP, as described above, the LEA must pay the difference with non-federal funding sources. Sources of non-federal funds may include state and local funds, cash donations, and in-kind contributions from outside sources such as volunteer services. As a reminder, expenditures of all funds in the nonprofit school food service account are subject to federal cost principles detailed at 2 CFR 200 and must only be made for allowable costs. Operating CEP is an allowable cost of the nonprofit school food service account. During the process of determining school eligibility, the term identified students refers to children who are directly certified for free school meals based on their participation or a household member's participation in other means-tested assistance programs, such as the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, TANF, the Food Distribution Program on Indian Reservations, and Medicaid Free. Please note, students who qualify for Medicaid Reduced are not included as identified students, as it only includes those who directly certify for free meals. Identified students are also children who are categorically eligible for free school meals without an application and who are not subject to verification, including homeless, runaway, and migrant, children enrolled in a federally funded Head Start program or comparable state-funded Head Start or pre-kindergarten program, foster children certified through means other than a household application. Please note that children must be considered eligible for one of these categories between the start of the school year and April 1st. The file that comes out in April will be March data. This is the formula that SFA should use to determine the identified student percentage. You will divide the number of identified students as of April 1 by the number of enrolled students as of April 1, and then multiply by 100. I provided two examples of percentages for you. The first example shows a school that has determined that there are 550 students with a total identified students with a total enrollment of 700 students. To find the identified student percentage, ISP, you would divide the 500 identified students by the enrollment of the 700. 550 divided by 700 equals 0.78571429, which rounds to 0.7857. Multiply by 100 to calculate the ISP of 78.57%, which meets the threshold. The second example shows 150 identified students with a total enrollment of 700 students. Again, you would divide the 150 identified students by the 700 enrollment, which equals 0.214287, which rounds to 0.2142. Multiply by 100 to calculate the ISP of 21.43%. Please remember that the ISP must be at least 25% to be eligible. Therefore, the percentage of 21.43% does not meet the threshold. Individual schools or groups of schools must have an identified student percentage of 25% to be eligible for CEP. So it depends on if you are electing as an individual school or as a cluster of schools. For schools participating in CEP, the ISP multiplied by 1.6 equals the percentage of meals claimed at the free rate. The remaining meals served up to 100% are reimbursed at the paid rate. In example 1, we will use the ISP from the previous slide. 78.57% multiplied by the CEP multiplier of 1.6 equals a claiming percentage of 125.71%. This percentage exceeds 100%, therefore all meals can be claimed as free. In example 2, an SFA with an ISP of 46.85% multiplied by the CEP multiplier of 1.6 equals a claiming percentage of 74.96%. So this SFA will claim 74.96% of their meals as free and the remaining 25.04% as paid. A few quick points for SFAs to remember in determining school eligibility are students in the same household with directly certified students can be counted as identified students. SFAs are not able to use information from free and reduced application to identify students. If an identified student percentage of at least 62.5% is determined, then all meals reimbursed at the free rate. If the identified student percentage falls between 25 and 62.5%, the meals will be reimbursed at a combination of both free and paid rates. CEP schools are subject to the same basic reporting and record keeping requirements as schools conducting normal counting and claiming or operating under other special provisions. The state agency does assess the accuracy of an LEA's ISP. In Louisiana, as part of the administrative review, the state agency will locate 10% or a statistically valid sample of identified student names on appropriate source documentation. Therefore, the SFA must, at a minimum, as part of the administrative review records, maintain the following ISP data for LEAs and schools participating in CEP. A list of all the identified students with their ISP classification used to determine the ISP from all schools participating in CEP from each district, documentation for the total enrollment at all CEP schools, the sample list of students that the state agency uses to verify the initial ISP, and all records from the year any updates are made to the ISP. The ISP worksheet the LEAs use to calculate the ISPs and submitted to state agencies with appropriate documentation. In addition, this documentation must be retained for 3 years after submission of the final claim for reimbursement under that claiming percentage. Must maintain records used in the development of the ISP during the entire period CEP is in effect, and records for the initial approval year and all records from the years any updates are made to the ISP. These are the CEP deadline dates. It is important to note that all SFAs must confirm the population data in eScholar CEP Manager by April 15th. All SFAs must make final elections regarding CEP for the 25-26 school year between May 12th and June 30th. There are many guidance materials available. For more information on the community eligibility provision, please note the CEP guidance has been recently updated. Community Eligibility Provision Planning and Implementation Guidance updated was released in February of 2024, which replaced the 2016 version. The Community Eligibility Provision Guidance and updated Q&As was released in February 2024. The CEP implementing the new minimum identified student percentage was released in September of 23, and CEP statutory annual notification publication requirements and school year deadline was released in February of 24. eScholar Direct Match. Now we'll discuss the eScholar Direct Match. This link connects you to resources for Person ID, Direct Match, and Staff ID. The eScholar Direct Match system is used to match student enrollment data against data from proxy systems, SNAP, TANF, DSNAP, foster care, Medicaid free, Medicaid reduced, etc., to determine eligibility for free lunch and to identify students who are considered economically disadvantaged. Direct Match also houses the community eligibility provision, which calculates the identified student percentage to determine the school system's eligibility to participate or continue participation in the CEP program. When logging in to the eScholar Direct Match, users should access the login URL linked on the screen and enter your login information. After logging into eScholar, you will need to go to the Direct Match section. To navigate there, click on Main Menu and then My Student. All LEAs operating CEP are required to conduct a data match at least once annually. It is recommended to be conducted monthly. This would allow the SFA to take advantage of ISP increase as well as to observe demographic trends. Just to reiterate, the identified student percentage must be established based on data as of April 1 of the school year prior to CEP election. For CEP Manager to be successful, CNP staff and data managers must work together to ensure all enrolled children identified students are up to date. Resubmit current students to Unique ID for ID assignment and claim the master record. Direct Match uses the master records and Unique ID to match against SNAP, TANF, Medicaid. The history records and Unique ID are not used in Direct Match. Run Direct Match for both SNAP, TANF, and Medicaid. Resolve all near matches, resolve all address matches, ensure all DSNAP children have been added to eScholar, ensure all DC extensions completed in food service software are actually entered into the eScholar through manual authorization. If you have any additional questions or for more information, please contact Anantha at the email provided. eScholar CEP Manager. Now we will discuss the eScholar CEP Manager. eScholar conducted direct match training for end users for an overview of the direct match system. All identified students must be reported in eScholar Direct Match to automatically feed into the new CEP Manager system. Enrollment and identified students should be up to date for April 1 in eScholar. It is important that SFAs have an idea that the data will be accurate on April 1. CEP Manager will be open later this week to begin reviewing data. However, it is important to remember that data will need to be refreshed after April 1st prior to submission. SFAs are responsible for ensuring that all schools are listed as well as the accuracy of the total enrollment identified student percentage. For eScholar CEP Manager to accurately determine identified students, local CNP staff and data managers must work together. Public and non-public districts must resubmit current students to Person ID for ID assignment and claim the master record by April 1st. Direct Match uses the master records and Person ID to match against SNAP, TANF, Medicaid free lunch, and Medicaid reduced lunch. Enrollment data in the CEP manager for non-public districts comes from Person ID. Enrollment data in the CEP manager for public districts comes from EdLink. Population data form. All SFAs, even those not applying for CEP with the exception of traditional RCCIs, must submit the population data form in EScholar to the state agency at the site level no later than April 15th each year. All population data will automatically be pulled from the EScholar system. SFAs will only have to confirm the data is correct and that all operating school sites are included. When logging into eScholar, users should access the login URL linked on the screen and enter your login information. After login to eScholar, you'll need to go to the CEP Manager section. The CEP Manager icon is the abacus on the navigation panel. The icon will only appear if the user has rights to the CEP Manager functions within Security Manager. CEP Manager allows the user to view, update, and certify the population data. The CEP Manager instructions can be found on the bottom of the CEP Manager page. The first 4 instructions have to do with population. Once you navigate to the CEP Manager, your data will initially not be visible. You will need to select the refresh arrow, which is the round arrows, in order to be able to see your data. This may take a few minutes. The Population tab data displays the total identified, total enrolled, district trend, population status, and election status due dates. The locations and the pending data are listed below the summary information. Click to see the data for the individual school. CEP testing school NE has no identified students and no enrolled students, 0. Please contact Anantha and I if you have any 0 sites. Please let us know if a site has closed. Review all schools listed and please contact us if there is a site missing or an additional site that is not in your SFA. The locations and pending data are listed below the summary information. Click to see the data for the individual school. In this case, we selected school code 34570. On this page, the user can view the students by program and the student ID number. The green triangle indicates a manual match and a green circle indicates a system match. The user will verify the data on this page for each program and each school. Click to return to the previous page. Please note the eligibility indicator color system, 25% or greater for eligible is green, 15 to 25% near eligible is yellow, and less than 15% is not eligible is red. Once the data has been reviewed, the user must submit and certify the population data. Please note that last year's Medicaid and free and reduced files were not available until April 12th. To maximize your identified students, you may want to wait until all March files are uploaded. Check the box next to the certification statement and click the Submit and Certify Population button when you've confirmed that all of your data is correct. Once the data has been submitted, the state must accept the data submission. You'll see under Approval Status that it says Submitted. After April 15th, and the state has accepted the submission, the district will see the Approved Status indicator both under Approval Status and by Population Status. CEP election considerations. The requirements for CEP elections are as follows. CEP elections begin on June 1st, 2026. Each year, all CEP elections must be made by June 30th. This will become available on May 12th after the elections training. When to establish a new year one. The CEP reimbursement rate corresponds with the property level of the household served by participating schools. Changes to a student population could indicate a change in the poverty level of the household served by the school and may require an ISP to be recalculated within a 4-year cycle. Depending on the extent of the change and the entity involved, refer to Community Eligibility Provision Guidance and updated questions and answers for more information. Newly opened schools and/or schools new to the NSLP SBP will not have direct certification data from April 1st of the prior year, and instead may use direct certification from a later month to establish CEP eligibility. If the number of identified students and total enrollment are available for the counting and claiming of meals begins and the new school meets the eligibility requirements, either individually as part of a group, then the LEA may elect CEP. New schools can elect CEP only if the number of identified students and enrollment are available because the ISP is the basis for reimbursement. Please note that the deadline for election is June 30th for all schools. SFA schools may elect to stop CEP at any time by 1. Notifying the Louisiana Department of Education of the decision, and 2. Notifying households of the decision and allowing ample time for submission of free and reduced applications. Student SFAs must offer all students reimbursable free meals for a period of at least 30 operating days following the date of restoration of a standard procedure or until a new eligibility determination is made, whichever comes first. If an SFA elects to no longer apply the CEP in their system or at targeted sites within the system, the SFA must notify the state agency that they wish to not apply CEP in the following school year no later than June 30th of the current year. SFAs may not discontinue CEP once that school year has begun. What if the SFA does not have an identified student percentage of 25% or higher in year 4 of the current cycle? In this situation, the SFA may be eligible to stay on the option for additional year grace period. In order to be eligible for this grace year, the identified student percentage in year 4 of the last cycle must be between 15% and 25%. Therefore, if a system cluster in year 4 has an ISP of 19%, they could continue a grace year at 30.4% free claiming and 69.6% paid claiming. Note, non-federal funds are necessary if the total amount of federal reimbursement through CEP does not fully cover the cost of serving all student meals at no charge. Just a reminder that CEP schools are subject to the same basic reporting and record keeping requirements as schools conducting normal counting and claiming or operating under other special provisions. This is a repeat slide from earlier. In summary, we're going to discuss the notification requirements. All state agency and LEA notification requirements are met by the completion of the population data and CEP worksheet in the CEP Manager portal of EScholar Direct Match. All local education agencies are required to provide this information regardless of intent to participate. No later than April 15th of each school year, the SFAs must submit to the state agency the school level eligibility population data, which includes schools that have an ISP of at least 25% eligible for CEP, have an ISP greater than or equal to 15% but less than 25%, which is near eligible for CEP, are currently participating in CEP, and are currently in the 4th year of CEP participation with an ISP greater than or equal to 15% but less than 25% eligible for grace year. By June 30th, 2026, LEAs that intend to elect CEP for school year 26-27 must notify their state agency of their intent to elect CEP and submit documentation showing the counts of identified and enrolled students for schools electing CEP as of April 1st, 2026. Similarly, by April 15th of each school year, state agencies are required to notify LEAs of district-wide eligibility, and by May 1st, publish lists of LEAs and schools that are eligible and near eligible for CEP participation on their website. Final thoughts for the CEP population. Before April 1st, CEP Manager will be open by March 13th for SFAs. Refresh the data to view Reach out about any discrepancies in site list and reach out about any 00 sites. Any data population data submitted before April 1st will be returned to SFA. After April 1st, LDOE will accept population data submissions starting April 1st. DC files for March will be uploaded as soon as they are received. Wait until all files are uploaded to ensure every possible identified student is included. For more questions and concerns, please contact Child Nutrition Programs at la.gov and mary.moses at la.gov. Thank you so much for coming to the training today. We do have one question from Jane, and the CEP district data will populate an eScholar Direct Match by the end of this week. We just had a small delay. And Carla Horton with Bossier kindly offered to invited people to her training about maximizing your clusters and group claiming on April 23rd. Okay. All right, and that looks like all the questions. So thank you so much for attending today and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.